It's your daily dose of Donna. Welcome to the show. Hope everyone is having a lovely Wednesday. It's Wednesday, March 4th. We call it hump day over here on Daily Dose of Donna. So I'm hoping that you're humping. Okay. Just putting it out there. Take that and do what you want with it. But hump away, because today's the day to hump and pray. Just coming up with, some sort of a fun little game for today's Wednesday, because no one likes a Wednesday, right? Like, I actually think that I dislike Tuesdays even more than Wednesday, but I really don't like Wednesdays. Wednesdays just kind of like, ugh. Thursdays is where the party starts. You know what I mean? Thursdays is where we get into like, yeah, baby, ready to go, ready to go. Oh my goodness. Welcome to the show. Today's going to be a random episode filled with really interesting things. And I just saw a breaking news alert about Nancy Guthrie and the glove. So let's get into all of it. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I am loving all of your comments about the look, the hair. I'm telling you, I'm so happy I cut my hair and I just did a little like zhuzh, and now I can just like wear it big. I wanted to wear it like 80s. I think I'm like, well, this is my Carolyn Bessette inspired shirt. So that's 90s. Okay, we'll figure it out. Everyone, welcome to the show. Let's get into it. It is your daily dose of Donna. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I look like Jennifer Beals in Flashdance, but blonde. Is that the one where she goes like that? I guess I am. You know what? I'm going to do some dancing after this on a pole because it's hump day. And if you guys don't know that I'm joking, don't know what to tell you. Well, one thing I am not doing, it's Maniac. She's a maniac. One thing I'm not doing is having an affair with another reporter covering the Nancy Guthrie case. I'm sure you guys saw that blind. I sent it over to Zach Peter this morning and I said, any chance it's us? And he hasn't responded. So looks like I got turned down by another gay man. Yes, there is a blind going around that two reporters who are covering the Nancy Guthrie trial or a case in Arizona are having an affair. Now, we don't know a lot of information about it yet, but we do know, and let me pull up, it was a Crazy Days and Nights blind, which you never know. You never know if it actually can be considered true or not. Obviously, I don't believe that a lot of them are true, but someone has definitely sent this one in, and I wonder who it could be. So it says here, God, the blinds are really actually interesting. This married true crime content creator, so it has to be married, so okay, that could be me, is sleeping with a female true crime content creator. So it doesn't say it's a man, as they compete for clicks in the Guthrie case. They are even sharing a hotel room and do their videos from the same hotel room. Okay, so let's talk about who this could be. Now, everyone's asking, is it Brian? Can't be Brian, but no one that I can think of is actually doing hotel room videos. Who can you guys think of that is doing the Nancy Guthrie case, that is covering the Nancy Guthrie case and is sitting in a hotel room? I have not seen any. Brian Enton is all over the place. He's on the road. He's talking to these people. He's driving here. He's in front of Nancy's house. We have JLR Investigates, who's also always on the road. Then we have a couple women. All right. We have two local women reporters, but I have not seen anyone sit in a hotel room. So I'm so confused. Now, you guys, Joey says Ashley Banfield. But from what I could tell, Ashley Banfield is sitting in her home. She has like a home set. So very, very confused by this. And I would like more information. It says true crime content creator. So not journalist, not reporter. It says content creator. Now, someone did send me a message and say, is it possible it's Annie, Elise, and Dr. Leslie? And I just about fell out of my chair. You know, I love Annie Elise from Seriously. I can't say it. Seriously. I love that show. But I was like, Dr. Leslie? Do you guys remember Dr. Leslie? If you've been around here for a while, you know Dr. Leslie. We call her, well, I don't want to say anything anymore because now I'm scared that people are going to want to sue all the time. But we just go back to old episodes, okay? She has caused a lot of craziness with the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively trial content. And she and Annie have been doing all of this Epstein Files content together. One of you guys, Stephanie, sent me a DM and said, they've been spending a lot of time together. I said, that would be wild if Annie and Dr. Leslie were having an affair. I just can't wrap my head around it. I much more prefer to imagine that it's Zach Peter and Brian Enton. Or Zach Peter and Brian Enton. That's the cutest couple I can think of. But I don't know if I don't know Brian's preferences, so we'll just let it be. Now, Micah, thank you. Courtroom Confidential was doing it from his hotel. Was doing what from his hotel room? I don't even know who Courtroom Confidential is. Is that a YouTuber? Let me see. Yes, Courtroom Confidential in YouTube. Okay, so here is Courtroom Confidential. I love how we're on the case. Since we can't find Nancy, let's just get on the case of trying to find who's having an affair. So his name is Josh Ritter. Is that what you guys said? Yeah, Josh Ritter. Not to be mistaken by, the actor Josh Ritter. And here seems to be Courtroom Confidential.
Hello, Josh, Tiff, Kaylin, Mods, fellow Courtroom Confidential family.
People call in?
About AI, how they're going to be able to use that. And it probably will.
Doesn't look like a hotel room to me, but maybe he used to be at a hotel. Okay. Let's start working on it. Oh, yeah, there's Jason Ritter. There's Jason Ritter, not Josh Ritter, you guys. But remember, Jack, Josh Ritter is the son, no? Hold on, let me think. Who was Three's Company actor? Jack? John Ritter. John Ritter. So we had John Ritter, right, who was on Three's Company and passed away. That was the saddest thing. And then Jason is the son. Yeah. Who was also in one of the best shows ever, Parenthood. Do you guys remember how good Parenthood was? You know that you cannot stream Parenthood anywhere? I looked. I would do anything to watch that entire show again with my son. Like, we need to figure that out. Okay, so as you guys figure out who's having an affair when it comes to two true crime reporters in a hotel room, I will let you guys know actual information about this case. And it is that, according to People Magazine, I'm seeing here, gloves found in Nancy Guthrie case. What? Let's read this together. Gloves found in Nancy Guthrie case traced to nearby restaurant worker as sheriff, close all the ads, as sheriff explains what this means. Great. The sheriff has to tell us what this means? Okay. It says, investigators have identified DNA on a glove found 2 miles from Nancy's house on February 15th. In an interview with local outlet KVOA, because he always does these stupid interviews. Let's see if we can look at the interview. Is this what we already watched with the girl when he basically said that they're working hard? He says there was some talk and discussion that it was police officers out in the field just discarding the gloves. That is so far from the truth, he told the outlet. We knew that at the time. We believe wholeheartedly that these gloves belong to a restaurant. And guess what? The owner of the glove we found working at a restaurant across the street. It has nothing to do with the case. I'm sorry, what? Wait, what? So the gloves that are found have to do with a restaurant worker, but they have nothing to do with the person who took Nancy or anyone involved? So literally, we're talking just about a random glove. There's a whole article on People Magazine about a random glove. So he's basically saying it's a challenge. We know we have DNA, but now we have to deal with that mixture and how we're going to separate it, he says, because the other gloves sent to a Florida lab could be different and DNA testing could take a while. And why are they at a Florida lab, you guys? Because of him. Because he did it. At some point, he will get fired, right? I don't understand. I don't understand. So, okay, so the glove doesn't fit. The glove doesn't fit the crime. Why are gloves even part of the story anymore? The gloves became the main character of the Nancy Guthrie case. More people are focused on finding gloves than they are focusing on finding Nancy at this point. I see so many people walking around and doing the gloves, like the search on the ground. Why can't we bring in the dogs? This is my biggest concern. Why can't we bring in the dogs to try to find this body? Dogs can smell, unlike Sheriff Bananos and his team. Wow, what a crazy headline. We found the DNA to the glove, but it has nothing to do with the case. Cool. Awesome. So good luck in life. Still cannot believe 32 days and nothing. And you would think that once you put that $1 million lead out there, that or reward out there, that it would like trigger people to come on in. Nothing. That's pretty much what we know. And then also one other thing, I saw an FBI former reporter who I guess worked on the Koberger case, and she believes, have they checked the router? Because Nancy, if she had a router, is it possible that they found a phone that had connected, anyone's iPhones or whatever, a phone that had connected to her router at some point in those early morning hours? You guys, I don't think they have anything, but they may, because, we've talked about Brian Koberger before, but I just don't see it. And so that's kind of a dead end right now. Although Brian Enton is still talking. He's still there. He's still talking to everyone. He's still doing his thing, friendly with everyone in the Arizona area. So if you live in Arizona, just go and make sure to say hi to Brian and make sure he's okay. So I think he's kind of like addicted now. Like we can't get him out. He's in. It's kind of like how we were with the Justin Baldoni case, which, by the way, I have to say, I know a lot of you guys want me to talk about stuff about that case. There is nothing to report, absolutely nothing to report with the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively case. And I find it so fascinating how people are still talking about it on content and stuff. Like there's really, I don't know where to, I wouldn't be able to come up with enough content to even create a short reel about Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively right now. So I just find it funny that people can still talk about it so much. There's so many other things to talk about. But I will get back to it if we get an answer from the judge or if we get an appeal or if we get anything. If there's something to talk about, I will talk about it. But there's nothing to talk about when it comes to that case at this point. Now, another case that there is something to talk about has something to do with someone who I deem to be a little off her rocker and dog poop. Okay? Dog poop as a weapon. You would think I'm joking, but I'm not. Because in this new update from the Alice Evans, Ioan Gruffudd, I'm definitely saying it wrong. Ioan Gruffudd. We are finding out, remember they're on trial, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how I think it's like a 10-day trial. So I think we're almost done. But yesterday, in court. Remember, I'm just going to give you a quick update of what the story is about. It's a husband and wife, two actors who got married. They were married for about 10 years, and they had the most contentious divorce where she was just dragging his name through the mud online, lots of threats, lots of insults. According to him, according to Ioan, he said that that Alice was going to Amber Heard him, basically ruin his career with just fake news and lies and whatever. So it's still a lot. Okay. It's a lot over there. And like I said, it makes Bethany's divorce look like a cakewalk because it sounds really, really bad. So he's trying. The reason why they're in court right now is because Ioan is trying to get a domestic violence restraining order extended. It basically expired, and he's trying to get one more against his ex, Alice Evans, the mother of his two kids. Now, he has been remarried since then to Bianca Wallace, and I think married, actually. I'm pretty sure. At least they were engaged. So they broke up in early 2021, and the nasty divorce is final as of 2023, but it's still really, really bad, right? So on the 6th day of the trial yesterday, a claim came from this woman, Linda Blank. She used to run Evan's Facebook fan club and still runs Gruffudd's, which is really strange that she runs both of these people. I guess when they were together, she was running their Facebook fan groups, and then she's just stayed on Ioan's and not Alice's anywhere. But she said that Alice gave us his address and encouraged all of us and other people to send him a bag of dog poop, is what she said yesterday to the Superior Court Judge Michael Convey. She said she wanted people to think he was the bad guy running off with Bianca and leaving her and their girls, leaving her destitute. Somehow I'm not shocked by this at all after knowing a little bit more about who Alice is in general. But it says he's accusing Alice of this harassment and abuse, like a relentless campaign of harassment and abuse. And this woman, Linda, who used to run the Facebook fan group, said that after Alice was devastated that she was left by her ex, Ioan, she said, "I know how to ruin your career. I could do things to make him bad in public." She wanted to talk about him using sex workers and cocaine. She purposely bounced 20 checks to the water company because it would ruin his credit. And she said Evan's fury was also directed at Wallace. She wanted her deported, said Blank, that's Bianca Wallace, that's Ioan's new wife, who added that Alice Evans planned to drag out her divorce from Ioan so that Wallace, the other girl who didn't have a green card, would face deportation if she stayed in the U.S. longer than 90 days. So this woman, Linda Evans, said, "Those two people ruined my life. I want her chastised online," is what Evans said. Is what Alice Evans said in an email to the woman, Linda, who was running her Facebook fan club. So it is very, very messy. It says that at first, Linda, this woman who was running her Facebook group, supported Alice Evans after the original Instagram announcement that Ioan had moved on with Bianca Wallace. And she understood. She felt bad for her. But then it quickly turned when she realized that all the bad things that this woman, Alice Evans, said about Ioan were just not true. And she admitted that she was also like very much in it and was posting negative comments about Ioan because she bought into what Alice was saying. She said, "I felt misled and hurt by Alice because I believed all this bad stuff about Ioan that wasn't true." Meanwhile, she deleted the Facebook fan club page in mid-2022 and quit talking to her, but she managed to repair her relationship with Ioan after their friendship suffered some glitches during her support of Evans. And then under cross-examination from Alice Evans' attorney, Blank admitted that she had asked Alice Evans, to give her Gruffudd's address where he was living with Wallace so that she could report Bianca for animal abuse. So basically what's happening is this Alice Evans created a base of mostly women who hated this Ioan, who hated this guy and said, he's awful. He's horrible. He's the worst. Let's ruin his life. And all these women, I would imagine mostly women, kind of felt like empowered by this Alice and been like, yeah, because a lot of times, and I noticed this, I think, with the Blake Lively case as well, is that instead of just watching and looking at facts, you end up bringing your own story to the situation. Like you end up bringing your own case, your own story, and your own history. So maybe these women had bad exes. Maybe these women tended to also have a man that moved on to someone else. And so they immediately kind of project their own issues, their own feelings, and they decide like we're going all in and we're attacking everyone that says anything and we're going to make him bad and da. So I honestly feel like the story is so wild, but if this domestic violence restraining order doesn't get given or doesn't get handed right over to Alice Evans at the end of this court trial, which should end, I think, end of this week, then I don't know. Then people shouldn't get married because that is just a scary, scary situation, truly. And the Facebook fan groups are also odd. You know, Facebook groups, I could do like a whole deep dive on Facebook groups and the drama that happens in Facebook groups. Do you guys not see that? Now, I have managed to keep my Facebook group very kind of low drama lately, but in the first year that I had that Facebook group, OMFG. The drama in the Facebook group was wild. People were ready to go over there. Now, I just saw another article, and this is going to be something interesting because we talk about Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard a lot over here on Daily Dose of Donna. And this is an exclusive Daily Mail article talking about let me get it for you guys. There's so many articles. It's a Daily Mail Plus exclusive. I know Enrique likes when I do this. Okay, are you guys ready for this? It says that Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell have a 3-way marriage. Excuse me? So are we going to have to talk about this? Truth about Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard's 3-way marriage. No, they don't all have sex, but Monica's friends say they're now worried as insiders share details of constant fights between the couple. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now, I am under the impression that Dax and Kristen have a relationship that is good. Okay. You may not agree with me on this, but I feel like their relationship is good and it's based in comedy, which a lot of people don't really understand. I do think that she may want to he drives her crazy and maybe she drives him crazy too. But I think Dax is a difficult guy. I'm just being honest. He's gone through a lot. He's had a lot of past trauma, addiction. Now we've heard he's had sexual abuse when he was a child. Like there's a lot of stuff there. Kristen Bell, from everything I know about Kristen, she seems like perfect. Like there's no drama, there's no trauma, there's no baggage. So it always confuses me that those two are together. And I think because of that, because they're so glaringly opposite, people are always very confused by their relationship. But let's get into this article. And says that Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard, this is according to Daily Mail, have one of the most unconventional marriages in Hollywood. It says they have a lot of controversy. Most recently, Shepard found himself getting name dropped in a viral essay published by The Cut that critiqued women who normalize their husband's bad behavior. As you guys know, he's condemned as creepy by fans when he talked about how he was obsessed with Sabrina Carpenter, who's really young. Cher was on his podcast, and she rather awkwardly declared that Kristen Bell was definitely the better half. Now, it says, for her part, Bell seems unbothered. After hosting Sunday's SAG Awards in Los Angeles, by the way, I did find out Dax actually was there. Remember how I said Dax wasn't there? He actually was. But for whatever reason, he didn't post about it on his Instagram. She posted about it. And he said that he did colonoscopy prep. None of it made sense. And the article said Dax didn't go. So I'm confused that he was there. But it does say that she heaps praise on Dax Shepard in her last Instagram post. She says she's thanking Dax Shepard, writing, "Not for one moment do I think I could do this job on my own." But Belle is not a lone voice when it comes to defending her husband, because Monica Padman, who's the co-host of Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast, is also speaking out and trying to really, stand up to anyone that talks badly about Dax. But this article is all about Monica, and it says the relationship hasn't always been that of professional equals, because when Monica Padman first worked as a nanny for the couple in 2013 and 14, after 12 years or so, now she's a podcast co-producer and undoubted best friend. She lives just down the street from Belle and Shepard's family home in Los Feliz, and has even joked that they're all in a three-way marriage. Now, however, while a source says that Padman has made herself invaluable to the couple, some friends are said to be worried that their codependent relationship is not healthy for Monica Padman, who is herself single and unmarried. It says Monica is not only heavily involved in Dax's podcast, but also sometimes like the third wheel in his marriage to Kristen. She's made herself invaluable to them, and the kids also love her. She came originally to LA, Monica, from Georgia to pursue a career in acting. She worked at SoulCycle and then eventually met Kristen and became their nanny, then her personal assistant, and then went on the podcast. So it says, obviously, Monica Padman is doing incredibly well financially, obviously, because Armchair Expert is one of the most successful shows on Wondery. I mean, that show is worth $80 million, which is pretty crazy. But then it says that while Padman has become Shepard's business partner and collaborator, her friendship with Belle is more intimate and personal. She's closer to Dax on a professional level, but on a personal level, she's closer to Kristen. Okay, so what are they trying to say? That they're in a three-way marriage that doesn't have sex? She's just literally a third friend. This is the crazy article. They're really just trying to pull anything out to make it look like they're in a bad relationship. I guess Jimmy Kimmel asked Monica Padman if there was anything sexual in their arrangement. I guess that's okay for Jimmy Kimmel to say. And Dax Shepard said, "Unfortunately not. It's all the responsibilities of two wives without the sex." Apparently, she tries to be kind of like in the middle and be friends to both of them and help with both of them, and ends up being a little bit of a publicist for both of them because she tries to always stand up for both of them. Kristen, one insider says that Monica doesn't like to be in the middle of their feuds, but sometimes manages to get drawn in, but she doesn't take sides. Kristen has made it perfectly clear to Monica that she and Dax need her alone time, and she gets it. In 2024, Padman admitted she was so worried about being so open about her personal life on the podcast with Dax Shepard, and it would ruin her dating life. And Dax said there will always be things about you and your husband that don't get shared, the details of life. So this is an article that I think is honestly I truly believe that this is an article that Monica Padman's publicist has released to get Monica's name out there as someone else. Do you guys agree with this? It's a full Monica Padman article. She's basically a wife. Yeah, she's a work wife to both of them. And I do wonder if it becomes drama, because imagine like Kristen Bell's really annoyed with Dax, right? And then wants to go to her bestie, Monica. But Monica just has to record a podcast with Dax in 2 seconds. It's giving Liz Plank. It's giving Liz Plank. I'm just saying. Okay, so it was a whole Daily Mail exclusive that gave us absolutely nothing. Thanks a lot, Daily Mail. Usually you do better than that. Really upset about that. It gave us nothing. They're just friends. Cool. Okay. Right? Let's move on to another story. So Rob and Michelle Reiner. We haven't talked about Nick Reiner in a while, and this is obviously a story that is so just heavy and yucky and dark and awful. But a new magazine, a new Us Weekly magazine article came out about where Nick Reiner is now, and more details from the weeks leading up to their murders and what's next for Nick. So obviously on February 23rd, he appeared at the Superior Court where his lawyer entered a plea of not guilty, which is just still confusing to me, but we'll get there, I guess, at some point. He spoke once, responding yes when the judge asked him whether he understood he was waiving his right to a speedy trial. He had a little strange smile, which was weird, but he was pretty emotionless. I mean, if you look at a picture of Nick Reiner in that courtroom, he looks creepy AF. Like, there's no question. He's now being held without bail at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility in LA. And he's due back in court at the end of next month, April 29th. Now, if he's convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole or the death penalty. We know that he had to move to a public defender, and that's most likely because his family is not wanting to front the bills, and it makes complete sense. It was reported in January that he had been taken off suicide watch, but now he remains in HOH, which stands for High Observation Housing. It says that the family is not in communication with Nick, and they just can't handle that at the moment. And I'm actually really not surprised. I don't think I'd be able to talk to my brother again. I'm just being honest, especially hearing about how challenging he was throughout their lives. He was a challenging kid, and he created a lot of drama and a lot of chaos. So I don't know if I would be able to talk to my brother if this happened. I'm just seeing this comment, Ginger. Love catching my first live. I'm a faithful doser. Hey, Ginger, welcome. So meanwhile, Nick's mental health is going to remain front and center as the case progresses. Supposedly, well, he's reportedly suffering from schizophrenia. We know that he has former drug addiction, major addiction. He had fired his psychiatrist in the weeks before Rob and Michelle were killed and had changed medications. The medical staff warned Rob and Michelle not to let Nick live at home until he got his medication straightened out. I think that there's going to be some sort of turn here, and I don't know exactly how, but I think there's going to be some sort of turn where they're going to try to put the entirety of the crime on the psychiatrist and or the makers of the medication or something along those lines, which is to me what I imagine they're going to try to do. They're going to say not guilty because he was out of control because of the medication. It was the medication's fault. And they're going to try to put it on this new psychiatrist, which is actually so scary to be a psychiatrist. I think about this all the time because so many of us go to psychiatrists and need, mental health prescriptions and, whether it's anxiety, depression, or worse. And the amount of, I imagine there's some sort of a waiver or some sort of form, if you guys know, let me know, that you sign when you start with a new medication, when you start with a new doctor, that basically says they are not responsible for A, B, and C. Now, I don't know exactly if that's like 100% true, but I imagine with this article being planted in this magazine, they are literally going to try to shift all of the blame off of Nick Reiner, and they're going to try to put it all on the doctors, the medical care, the doctors, and the family. And what I mean the family, I mean, unfortunately, Rob and Michelle, which is absolutely sick, because whether or not Rob and Michelle did the right thing by letting him stay in the house, I mean, it's not something that I probably would feel safe about in a lot of mental health professionals that have talked to you about this case I've watched have said the same thing. Like when you have someone that is that erratic and scary, but they don't see, the thing is, he was their child. And I think when you have a child, you don't see them maybe necessarily in the light that you should. Although we have heard sources say that Rob spoke about it, that he was scared of his son in the past. It's just so scary to think that, I don't think, this is just my opinion as a mother. I don't know if you ever are in a position to think that your kid will actually ever be a danger to you. Maybe you will. Maybe some are, but maybe that's after there have been times of aggression. And I'm actually really curious to know, did Nick Reiner ever physically abuse, harass something his parents before this night? Like that, I don't know. And I would be curious to know that. And I would imagine they're going to bring in a lot of witnesses, maybe possibly sister and brother, to come in and talk about any prior instances of him getting physically aggressive with his parents prior to that. Because once you get physically aggressive to your parents or to anyone, that's when you're seen as a physical threat. But before you're physically aggressive, I don't know if people are necessarily aware that that can happen. It's really, really scary to think about. In addition, it says that many predict that he'll try for an insanity defense. In early January, after Alan Jackson withdrew from the case, he told reporters he believes his former client is not guilty of murder. Under California law, following a comprehensive top-to-bottom 3-week investigation, a former LA district attorney, R.J. Drayling, believes that Alan Jackson may have been signaling that Nick was not guilty due to mental health issues. There's been recent speculation that RHONY and Jake have cut him off, etc. The defense will argue that Nick's mental illness is what drove him to commit these acts, and the prosecutor will argue that even though he was mentally ill, he knew exactly what he was doing. The second source sheds new light on what was happening in the weeks leading up to the murders, that Rob and Michelle were helping Nick figure out his meds because they weren't working anymore. According to the source, the medical staff had warned Rob and Michelle not to allow Nick to stay at their home due to the meds being switched, and said that it could make him exhibit even more erratic behavior. In a January profile on Nick, the Washington Post reported that as much as he resisted his parents' interventions, he consistently ended up living back at home because he'd become accustomed to the trappings of his privileged upbringing. Obviously, we know that he struggled with drug addiction for years and years and years. He spoke about it on podcasts. He's talked about it. He's written about it. And those close to the Reiners were well aware of those family struggles. Michelle, in mid-January, New York Times reported that Michelle and Rob did everything a parent could do to possibly help Nick. It became a cycle of seeking treatment for him, kicking him out, and him moving back in. This went on for years. It's been so much of their life. RHONY specifically has been especially impacted by his hostile and volatile behavior. She's been so traumatized. I think RHONY ends up taking the stand. I'd be curious, but I actually think that RHONY and Jake, sister and brother, will stand up for their parents in trial. I'm very curious, but that has got to be one of the hardest things ever. It says his legal journey will be an uphill battle. Even though a not guilty plea in this case is a very routine part of the process that just gives each side time to review police reports, witness interviews, and medical records before the case moves forward. Lawyers will attempt to set up a preliminary hearing date on April 29th, and then prosecutors will have to prove that they have enough evidence to go to trial. They predict they're going to call witnesses who attended Conan O'Brien's Christmas party to talk about what they saw. The prosecutor will use this as motive, and the defense will argue that he was mentally ill at the time. He notes that Nick would be committed to a lockdown psychiatric facility for a lengthy period of time if found, but I hope that's for life, if found not guilty based on insanity. A former federal prosecutor, Nima Rahmani, says that Nick's legal team that for Nick's legal team to prove insanity, the defendant has to be unable to tell right from wrong. Meaning, if you're capable of having an argument with your parents at a Christmas party, you're not insane. That's definitely a clear sign that he's probably going to have he's not going to be able to go with insanity. The defense will have a hard time arguing self-defense because they were sleeping and he's a lot smaller, a lot younger and like probably stronger. Or manslaughter. It says when you come back the next day with a knife, that's too much time for a heat of passion manslaughter defense. All signs point to premeditated murder. He says the death penalty is unlikely given that the state of California hasn't executed anyone in 20 years. And then it says that Rob and Michelle's children are picking up the pieces as best as they can. They released a statement. Obviously, we've seen her hiking in pictures with her dog and walking on Malibu. And it's just got to be the worst time of their life. So I hope that this man gets sentenced to life in prison. I do not think that he is insane. I think he is a dangerous, murderous man. That's how I feel about Nick Reiner. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit lighter. First, let's talk about Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato. Okay, you guys, I think about this all the time. Demi Lovato is an interesting one. So she had, sorry, I shook the camera. She had a Disney upbringing. As you guys know, I don't need to say it every time I do this show, but because I used to work in that world, I'm always like much more fascinated by stories around it. Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, and a few of the other ones kind of came up all at the same time. Yes, there were other Disney stars. There were people like Brenda Song, Debbie Ryan, but these three girls specifically were the top of the top when it came to Disney stars. And they were being kind of thrown in competition left and right by Disney, by all these other things, like who has more fans, who has more. It wasn't so many followers at that time. It wasn't all about social media yet at that time, but it was like, who is going to be more famous? Who's going to have more, fans? Who's going to get the show off the road, whatever. Enrique says, I love Demi. She was a they, them, and then was like, I'm getting married. I'm a she again. Oh my gosh. Have you guys seen Robbie Hoffman's comedy about the they, thems? Robbie Hoffman is a lesbian actress / comedian. She's the one that's married to Gabby Windey. She has one of the funniest clips about how if you are ever a they, them, you have to stay a they, them for the rest of your life. It's so funny. I almost want to pull it up, but I'm worried about how many people I'm going to offend in the next 5 minutes if I do. But anyway, so Demi Lovato, yeah, she's had a lot going on, and she has a documentary. You can watch it all. But basically, she went through a moment of, she's gone through addiction. Major addiction. She's definitely gone through some sort of gender identity crisis and, not really exactly sure. Am I a girl? Am I a they, them? I'm not really sure. And she's also had eating struggles, many, many eating struggles. She's really, really gone through it. You guys want me to share it? I don't know. Okay, maybe I'll look for it secretly in the back. Robbie Hoffman. The only reason I think it's kind of funny is because she is gay. Like, she's LGBTQ. So I feel like she can talk about it. She has a right to talk about it. Like, not everyone has a right to talk about these things. So this is coming from Robbie Hoffman and not me. And I will play it for you in just a moment. So anyway, Demi Lovato she's had a really rough go. Okay. I think everyone can pretty much guarantee that, but she's pulled out. Shockingly, she's pulled out really, really well. Now, she was just on another, I think she's Nickelodeon girl, Keke Palmer. Yes, she was Nickelodeon. And she got emotional on this podcast where got emotional as she celebrated an eating disorder recovery milestone. And she briefly discussed the topic of dating her ex, Vilmer, wasn't it Vilmer or was it Wilmer Valderrama, who was 12 years older than her. Okay. So this is the part. I hate when there's no chapters in these long ass interviews, but I'm just pulling up one moment of it so you can kind of see what she looks like now. And she talks about her relationship.
Had more grace for myself. And looking back, like, you know, I can have that grace and compassion for my inner child today. But I also have so much gratitude. I mean, those years, those were the years that started it all for me. And I have very fond memories, some not so fond memories of the struggling that I had when filming those shows. You know, having struggled with an eating disorder while on camera was really challenging. I struggled with my mental health, very much so, but ultimately, like, very fond memories. I made friends that I will have for the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. When did you feel like this?
Okay, so that's obviously about the Disney Channel. But then she talks about her relationship with Wilmer. And let me just tell you something. Wilmer Valderrama is, and this is my opinion, this is not fact, this is my opinion, according to Donna Bowling, Wilmer Valderrama is truly one of the creepiest guys in Hollywood. One of them, okay? And I've always felt this way, but I learned more about it here's a picture of them, since I have really gone down the path of like figuring out all the drama on the 70s show, okay? We had Danny Masterson, who is now in jail for 30 years to life for RAPE. We have Ashton Kutcher, who is besties with Danny Masterson and Wilmer. I don't know why I want to call him Wilmer. He is Wilmer Valderrama was like a big party guy around these days. Okay. He was a big party guy and he used to hang out with young women, super young women. And yes, Ginger says Wilmer spilled so much information about so many young Hollywood actresses that he dated on Howard Stern. You guys are all saying Diddy. I'm not saying like in all of Hollywood. I mean, we could talk about creepy men for 3 years, okay? I'm just saying this group of the 70s show guys is a group of creeps. I don't know what happened. Topher Grace is the only one that became unscathed, but it was really, really, really creepy. And I could do a whole deep dive on Wilmer Valderrama if you guys want. I am not sitting here doing all the research on who he is as a human being, but I just find him to be odd. He was always spending time with really young girls. There was a lot of strange things, but he was 12 years older than Demi Lovato. 12 years. And she was 18 and he was 30. And that to me makes me think, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that is a little bit of predatorial. That's just my feeling, okay? 18, yes, I get it. You are an adult, but you're so a teen. And it's strange to me. It's strange. And clearly it wasn't healthy for her at all. He's clearly speaking out about it right now. Some of the drama that he's had in his past relationships, including Lindsay Lohan, Demi Lovato, and then who else was he with? He was with, Howard Stern interview controversy. He faced backlash for a 2006 Howard Stern interview show where he made explicit comments about his sex life, including false claims about Mandy Moore. Kind of want to see that. Anyway, I just think that there's a lot going on. If you want to do a deep dive on Wilmer, you'll figure it out. But she says, why was he my boyfriend? She says, I found myself dating older guys all the time. Hold on, let me get the exact clip. She goes, why was my boyfriend 30? You know what I'm saying? nobody our age could understand. But then you look back in hindsight when I turned 30 and I was like, wait, that's not okay. Kiki Palmer says, girl, the moment that you realize and you get to the age that a lot of people were around you doing stuff, it's almost a mental break that can happen because you realize you were taken advantage of. She says, oh, I was being exploited. Kiki Palmer also was with an older guy, and so they kind of connected and related over this. She says, I also wrote a song about that. It's called 29. And when you listen to it, I think you'll be able to relate to it. They first met in 2010 when she was 17 and he was 29. And when she turned 18, the pair began an on and off relationship, which eventually came to end in 2016. So they knew each other for years and they were on and off in a very like dramatic relationship since they met at 17 and then, it continued. And then 2 years after they broke up, she had a near fatal heroin and fentanyl overdose inside her Hollywood Hills home. So it's just a little strange, right? It's a little strange when you hear about stories about older men dating younger women. And I have to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've talked about this before, but when I was 21, which actually was fine because I drove, I could drink. I was in college already. I dated a 31-year-old. So I actually think that's fine. Is that creepy to date someone 10 years older than you when you're 21? Or is that also bad? Interesting. Okay. Another story. What do I want to talk about right now? I want to keep it light and tight. This last story is pretty bad, you guys, though. It's like, I want to keep it light and tight, but also we have to talk about this maid from hell. This story is, if you think that you have a situation, you got to hear this story. And I like to bring you guys these weird stories every once in a while. I always find them to be fascinating and we can get into it. But this maid from hell, there is an unbelievable story of a housekeeper who turned a squatter who is terrorizing the wealthy. Okay. This is happening right now. A woman named Hillary Page, she's 66 years old, and she is allegedly holed up inside a man's Manhattan mansion. It's a $13 million Upper East Side townhouse. Now, she worked for a man who was an entrepreneur, and his name was Craig Schmeiser. He since has died. And now the squatter / old housekeeper, Hillary, won't leave. She refuses to leave. And apparently she's tormented at least one other family. Are we sticking with it? Okay. The entity that owns the building has now sued Hillary Page, alleging that she has refused to vacate the 5-bedroom property and she's blocking representatives from entering. We also have found out that she was arrested for assault stemming from an incident involving, okay, this is where I think the story gets crazy, involving the man that died, Craig Schmeiser. She was arrested for an assault stemming from an incident involving him weeks before he died from blunt force trauma. What? Police are saying that the case is closed and nothing was criminal about his death. I would do more research on that. Now, a former benefactor of Page has shared his own nightmare experiencing having Page as a house guest. So this woman already has done this to other people. This other person, Terry Neifeld, said that he, in 2017, reluctantly let this woman crash on the couch of one of his 1-bedroom open plan loft apartments in Chelsea. He's now 83 years old. He said he initially took pity on this woman because she was a childhood friend of his girlfriend at the time, after she was evicted from her home in Murray Hill. It was meant to be temporary, but then court documents show she didn't leave for 2 years. Soon, this woman was joining this guy, Terry, and his girlfriend for dates and dinner, which put a strain on their relationship. She was like a Monica Padman. Liz would say, Liz is the ex-girlfriend of this one guy, would say, let's invite Hillary, not because we liked her so much, but we knew she needed to eat. He claims Paige never paid rent or offered to chip in for groceries or meals. She had no job and spent her days sprawled on his couch playing on her phone, which drove him crazy. He called her a parasite and claimed she had a nasty streak. He says you can see the pattern. She can charm her way into something, but it winds up ending in bad circumstances. Okay, this is why I don't have house guests, y'all. This sounds awful, awful. He says one time at an outdoor cafe, they were at a high-end restaurant and she screamed at the waiter for not filling her wine glass fast enough. Next to us were these Europeans, a nice couple. They were smoking and the smoke was coming our way. I asked them nicely, can you please lower your cigarette? They were very nice, but then Hillary went after them and screamed out, you Euro trash. She has it in her to offend. And then in another time, she hurled a hot cup of coffee at him. It missed, but shattered a glass cabinet in his apartment. He says, I'll always remember this. I got on my hands and knees to clean up the mess and then afterwards went to the hardware store. When I returned, there was not a word. I'm sorry it happened. Nothing. It's not in her to see that this was a problem. She's a super narcissist. And then tensions flared. So this woman, Hillary, would let herself into the photography studio and sleep there instead. So finally, this guy, Terry, took her to housing court and spent thousands in lawyer fees. And finally, in early 2020, she was forced out. Okay. It's so crazy that this actually happens. But then it happened, of course, again, and it's happening right now. In late 2024, she was hired as a live-in housekeeper by this guy, Craig Schmauser, the founder of Nectar Sleep, to manage his 4-story limestone townhouse at 111 East 81st Street. He had been living in the property alone since becoming estranged from his wife, Sarah, and their 2 children. This guy's kind of a younger guy, too. He's not like an old man. It says one local told the Daily Mail that they assumed the pair were a couple and claimed that police were called to the block several times. Another said they had a tumultuous relationship, often hearing screaming and yelling from the building. I'm going to show you a picture of the man that has died, okay? This is the man who has died. Young man from blunt force trauma. And this is a picture of Hillary. This is the 66-year-old housekeeper slash squatter. What? Now, I'm still confused how Craig died, right? When shown a picture of Paige, a local Hillary Paige, the nanny, the squatter, a local worker said, she's the crazy one that yells. She is not normal. She walks around screaming and cursing. You terrorist, you immigrant. An employee at a neighborhood liquor store suggests that they like to party. Both of them like to party. They would call for delivery. They would order wine and vodka. And in November, he was found dead at the property, 52 years old, from blunt force trauma. An autopsy ruled the cause of death subdural hemorrhage due to blunt force trauma of head with chronic alcohol use as a contributing factor. The manner of death was deemed undetermined. But just weeks earlier in September, Hillary, his squatter slash nanny housekeeper, was arrested on assault and harassment related charges stemming from an incident at that townhouse that left him injured. A photo obtained by the New York Post showed blood dripping from around his left ear onto his white shirt. I don't want to see that picture now. You guys, did she kill him? It says the charges were dropped, and then the NYPD told the Daily Mail that the investigation regarding his death is closed. There was no criminality. While some members of Schmeiser's family are demanding police reopen the investigation, his brother Jesse says that he remembered Paige as a caring woman who looked after his sibling until his final days. So his brother is standing up for this woman. According to a complaint filed by the building, entity whose members are two family trusts. Estate representatives arrived at the townhouse after his death, but they were unable to get in. The Daily Mail has ringed the doorbell, knocked on the door, and at one point left a note in the mail slot attached to the front door, but no one is speaking. Paige runs to the door screaming and blocks the locksmith out. Oh, so basically she killed him, allegedly, according to my investigative skills. I feel like we need to get Brian Enton on this case. She killed him, right? They live together. She goes around screaming crazy obscenities. She's now a squatter. She got arrested for abusing him, and he had blood coming down his ear. And now she's not leaving his house, and he died of blunt head force trauma. Okay, so the brother that's standing up for her probably is next on the list of being the inheritor. Inheriting the house, and is trying to get through to Paige. I mean, what a story. Yes, Trent got it. I mean, the brother who's standing up for her, probably working together. You guys, we found ourselves a new family drama. Nancy Guthrie, who? We are going straight to New York on this one. It's got everything you need. It's got a rich entrepreneur. It's got an older, creepy hand that rocks a cradle nanny. Okay. And it's got a really big, nice townhouse. We have an ex-wife and the two kids. We have a lot of alcohol. We have blunt head force trauma and an unsolved murder. This is the story. Yeah, we're going to need a bigger boat, Melissa. Let's get on this. I mean, justice for Craig. Interesting. And I don't understand why squatters are not able to be removed. What are these rules that protect illegal tenants? I am a homeowner, and I would lose my damn shit if a police officer said to me, it's okay that this random person just sleeps on your couch forever. We need DMZ on this case. I'm going to text. I'm going to tell them that we have a new case to run. This is a big one. Okay. Let's all right, let's go on and see if there's anything. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. I think we've talked about enough today. Today was a wild roller coaster of murder, of drugs, of dating older men, of poop, of gloves. Thank you for supporting Daily Dose of Donna every day. Make sure to tune in Monday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And hit up Apple Podcasts and make sure to give me a 5-star review or rating if you're over there. It really helps my show. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.